The January 2nd edition, 2026, into the new year. I'm Peter Boyle, 710 KNUS. In about a minute, we're going to be joined by, we're going to stream this one, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. I put it on our website, 710 KNUS. Terry the Tramp, The Life and Times of a Dangerous One Percenter, and Keith, and he put it on Randall Ball on the cover of the mag. And I'm back here tomorrow, and I can only imagine a radio show that we're going to do with John Bannerman and Bill Vickery. That'll be one and only. I'm waiting to get the green light. In the meantime, let me read some of these text messagings from last hour. Peter, unless people in Congress hold this lawless juvenile grifter of a president accountable for his actions and return our country to the nation we can be proud of. The next one. We are on the verge of a middle-class revolt, and the government must keep us split into the right and left at all costs. We did that one already. The debt will be our downfall. I think this plays out. The debt will be the crush the dollar. This will create civil unrest. I'm looking through the glass to see what Adam gives me the green light. We haven't seen anything like this since the American Civil War. Say yes or no. Another one. What we see happening now. Our dollar as a reserve currency is failing. Once the dollar isn't attractive as a reserve currency, all these dollars will come home. And then what? I hope I'm dead by then. Woof. America will survive if we've been over that one. This one is deport the workers. All right. So it was a good couple hours of that. 710 KNUS, we are Denver's talk station. I'm back tomorrow. We're on hold right now for Keith Ball, and when that pops across, we'll do it, Terry the Tramp. We're going to try to Zoom it. If we don't Zoom it, let's just do it. Let's not mess around with it, fellas. Let's bring the man on. It is interesting in our country, and again, further questions. The United States sustain its political order for the next X years? Can the U.S. sustain its current political order if housing becomes more difficult and more and more people? This one just came in as a text message. Iran is on the verge of collapse. I don't know. We got Keith. All right, put all that aside until tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, bring him on. He's a Zoom. He's in Sturgis, and he's become a great friend. Keith Ball is our guest, and the book is Terry the Tramp, The Life and Dangerous Times of a One Percenter. Let me tell you something about our guest, and known as the band legendary figure in American motorcycling world. He's known as a veteran. He's an author, publisher, and he's bikernet.com, and he now has acquired Easy Riders magazine. And those of us who grew up on Easy Riders or read Easy Riders, and the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum Hall of Fame. And when I first met him in Sturgis, I was kind of standoffish because of his reputation. He's really, really a good guy. Please say good morning and welcome back to 710 KNUS, Keith Ball. Hey, brother, good morning. Thanks for doing the show.
Good morning, Peter. And, you are the legend. I am just another grubby biker who lives in the Black Hills.
I want to move there. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing over Keith's shoulder. He has motorcycles in his home that are incredible. What's the weather this morning? I can see it kind of looks kind of white out there.
It's a little hazy. It's hazy, a little overcast. I'm just waiting for that sun to break out, and then that scenery behind me will just burst into color and beautiful. Yes.
Why did you decide, after all the years of being a West Coast biker, you moved to Sturgis, which I think I understand, but why did you do it?
It's a wild one. I turned 70. I lived in an old, almost 100-year-old hotel. I owned the hotel, and it actually, at one point, they took the back third of the hotel and turned it into a fish processing plant, if you can imagine that. But that actually gave me a giant shop in the back of my home. So I owned this place that I lived in, and I went from room to room fixing things and doing things. And so I was there for 17 years. It was the longest place I had ever lived. And I don't know, something said to me, it's time. I've been here long enough. I've done things to it. It's really cool. It's time. I want one more adventure in my life. And the only place I could move to would be Sturgis and the Black Hills.
I've been there for, I can't tell you, I don't remember how many different Sturgis rallies. And then I went up, and I'm going up again in a week. And you go into Sturgis when it's not the rally, and you don't know where you are. I mean, I don't know where I am, where there's all kinds of motorcycles and pictures and stuff. Oh, I know where I am. I swear, Terra Nova, Vinny took me, and I went, where are we? And we were like on LaSalle Street. I said, I know LaSalle. We're not on LaSalle. Yeah, you are. So it is a totally different place. It's really actually, I think, a very wonderful place to live. So in many ways, I'm jealous, man. It was like, but no, seriously, you back again, you bought Easy Riders magazine. And again, why? I mean, you we're both old guys, and we're going into a new project together, but why did you buy Easy Riders?
That's it's so interesting. Everything that's happened to me over the last 5 years. In fact, moving to Sturgis. Okay, I moved to Sturgis. Ultimately, I bought a house in Deadwood. Then I had to have a shop, so I bought a house in Boulder Canyon and built a shop on the back of it. Well, then I stumbled into a great deal on a building on Main Street, and then we refurbished this building on Main Street, and guys would ask me, they'd go, Keith, what are you going to put in that building? And I'd say, I'm going to put my shit, all my old shit that I've had forever. So,
again,
so we did.
I had to delay, boss. You had to let it reload. Let it reload. Yes. You took your stuff.
I took all my stuff,
Thank you.
my old antique stuff. We had 40 years of stuff that we took from L.A. And so we created sort of an antique store, a bookstore with my books in it. I invited Daniel James to bring his fine art.
Known Danny forever. Yeah.
And it turned into a kind of a cool building, but
Yes.
like you said about Sturgis, Sturgis sort of dries up in the winter. And I interviewed a woman, Robin, who's been around forever, lives in Sturgis forever, her whole life. And she talked about how tough it is to keep a business going in the winter. Anyway, so all these things have happened. Even the roof started leaking, and we had to redo the entire roof on this old building. And it's another 100-year-old building on Main Street in Sturgis. So all these things happened, and then I was working with a guy to try to bring the Easy Riders Streamliner to the museum. It was in a lot in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with just a cover on it for years. So I started working with Ellen and Joe Teresi, and Joe wasn't healthy. He was having problems. And we just kind of went through this process where we were working on the Streamliner, and then I found out about the magazine, and it wasn't doing well. And I started trying to help Ellen to move the magazine someplace where somebody had the infrastructure to bolster the magazine and to fire it up again. And I tried 3 different deals, and they just didn't work out. And finally, I volunteered to work for the company for free until we could get it turned around. And at that point, Joe had passed away. Ellen went to her executor, and the executor said, Ellen, we're pulling the plug at the end of the year. We can't spend any more money. Yeah. And so I made an offer. And it meant, it's one of those things in life that's so strange that it's like everything was in place. and I even had a little bit of money that I could make that offer with, you know. So I made an offer, and we went through severe, dire negotiations over everything, and it was awful, but we survived and signed the papers in Sturgis at the museum.
The 25th of September. Yeah.
Right. And I felt like, and I've said this a number of times, I felt like Trump is really trying to save the free Western world. And we now have a new CEO of Harley-Davidson who's trying to turn that company around. And that company represents so much more to motorcycling, to our lifestyle, to the Western world than people really imagine. And the third one down that rung is Easy Riders magazine. And I felt somebody's got to step up and save this magazine.
It's all true.
And save what it represents.
I remember the first time, and we've talked about this, and Peter Fonda, I've talked to him actually 2 different times. At once at the Love Ride, sitting down underneath a tree in a park and talking about that film and what it meant. And that meant so much, and I think so much of that is lost. And what really was the movie about? Because then the magazine appears. How soon does Easy Rider magazine appear after the film, after the Peter Fonda, Dennis Hopper film?
Well, I think the film was released in 1969.
Yep.
In 1970, Joe Teresi, Lou Kimsey, and Mill Blair started to put the company together, and in early 1971, the first issue came out.
And it was.
And I went to work on the second issue.
You worked on the second issue?
Yes.
It was a hit. I mean, everybody read Easy. There were 2 things that we read. We read Soldier of Fortune magazine that came out of Boulder, and I later got to know the guys who ran that, and they did radio and television with us, and Easy Riders, and it was raw. It was a raw mag. And when did they used to? Well, you could get a subscription to it, or if you went to the 7-Eleven, it was brown paper wrapper. I mean, they were. But everybody I knew read Easy Riders. Whether they rode or not, they read the mag. And then, boss, what do you think happened? Because, I mean, it like you said, you saved it from itself. What happened? Well,
as you know, so many things have happened in the last 54 years. And it's fascinating now that we have been able to acquire all the digital archives. So right now, on our website, someone can buy a subscription to 54 years of Easy Riders magazine.
Yeah.
So through that 54 years, imagine what we've been through. I mean, as a society, we've, even in the 70s, the whole Vietnam War issue. And then, you probably know, because you've lived it and documented it all your life. But, there was, more recently, there was the economic downturn in 2008. Actually, the magazine was hit real hard in the early 80s by Edwin Meese, the Attorney General, who decided he was going to eliminate pornography from America forever. And he did some illegal things and ended up out of a job. But it in a sense it devastated the magazine industry. Then, like I said, then there was 2008 more recently, and the economic downturn, and just flattened the economy, and that impacted, of course, magazines. There's just been a ton of different steps and different occurrences, and Joe kept trying to sell the magazine. And I worked for the magazine until 1999, and the company was turned over to some guys who were big money Taco Bell executives. And I received a bonus check, and I said, I think there's going to be trouble here. I'm leaving. And I had been there another 13 years, and I was the executive vice president of the company, and I decided, let's go do something else. At that time I was responsible for 14 magazines.
Wow.
Yeah, so the company had grown fantastically. We did events, we did merchandising, we did videos, quarterly videos, which I was the director of or the producer. Yeah, so we were just doing a ton of stuff, and I think I was about 50 years old, and I said, let's go do something else. Let's have some fun. I had started BikerNet, and I decided to peel out. Well, 12 months later, Easy Riders, Paisano Publications went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Joe tried to sell it to some other guys, and each group, there were 3 groups. Okay, so you had the Taco Bell guys,
Yeah.
and then you had this guy Pepper, who actually kind of stole from the company, and then you had a guy named Ray Pelosi, and then you had this other group, Riders Inc. And none of these, what's so interesting about it is, to me, Easy Riders has a code. Easy Riders represents freedom, innovation, the ability for any guy to go out and build whatever bike he wants to build. It represents sort of the Old West in a sense. And then to have people take it on and then attempt to use it to make money and destroy it, it's against the code of the West.
When I met Keith Ball, he's our guest and now the owner of Easy Riders magazine, and we're going to talk about his book, Terry the Tramp. But when people have to ask, and this is something that I've talked about at great length, Louis Armstrong, he hated to be called Louis, but everybody called him Louis. But the people ask him, well, can you explain jazz? And his retort was, if I have to explain it to you, you'll never get it. And I always thought that about motorcycles, the culture, what you've written about, what you lived. If you have to explain that, then nobody's going to get there. You're not going to get it. And yet, people, and you've had this experience. I know when I'm riding with all the guys, and you pull up next to a car, and I've seen this again and again and again. You can hear people latch their doors, click, 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 and everybody looks straight ahead except there's one kid, and he's got his nose pressed against that window, and he's staring at you. That kid gets it. He gets it. The rest of the family is going, let's get out of here. These are dangerous people without even knowing who they are. But there's that one kid, boss, with his nose pressed against the window. That kid will be riding with everybody in about 15 years. Is that a fair statement to make if you have to explain it?
Yes, it is fair. People either get it or they don't get it. And people are either inspired or they're not inspired, or they're intimidated. Whatever it is, you're right. That statement really is. And I feel like one of the things that we need to do going forward is make motorcycles available to those kids. So more kids can press their noses up against windows and go, wow, there's something cool about that.
How many times you've seen that kid? He's like right there, he's looking, and you can hear his song. Yeah, he's like, he's you, he's me. He's like, and I'm not you, but he's just in love with it, and
right.
And it's intrinsic. It isn't like, it's like you're born with it in your DNA. You want to get out there and do it and ride. I'm being told we're going to break. We're going to take a break and come back with Terry the Tramp. Our guest is the one, the only. He's my partner now. I'm his Ed McMahon. We'll talk about that when we come back too. But he is something, and his name is Keith Ball. And the book, this one is Terry the Tramp. He's got more. Back with the man right after this.
Your KNUS forecast for the Denver metro area calls for still partly to mostly cloudy skies this Friday. A little bit of some lingering snow shower activity yet to our west in the high foothills and mountains, but we look to stay dry here across the metro area. Temperatures near 60 today, mid-30s tonight, low to mid-60s for highs this weekend. Partly to mostly sunny, dry here across lower elevations with nighttime lows mid and upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer on 710 KNUS.
Finally got back. Here we go. 7:10 KNUS on a Friday. I'm here tomorrow morning at 9, January 2nd, 2026. With us, he really is a Renaissance man in so many different ways. He's my idol, and he's in Sturgis, and he owns Easy Riders Magazine. And he's with us now this morning, Keith Ball. You know, I wanted to ask a question. This is a good one for us rolling into the new project. Why motorcycle clubs? Why do motorcycle clubs exist in the first place?
Wow. Wild question. Lots of things happen. A lot of what other journalists have written about is that guys came back from World War II. They wanted some excitement. They started clubs. A lot of people feel like they need to join something. When you came back, the whole club deal is so fascinating because, in a sense, from my investigation, it was sort of forced on guys who came back. They didn't want to wear uniforms again. And the AMA, the American Motorcycle Association, had a boss. And his name was E.C. Smith. And he was a dictator. And he wanted to dictate how people rode, how people raced. He wanted to control that. And he did for almost 25 years. But when guys would come to a race and they were riding bikes that were kind of chopped down and bobbed, and they were turned away. So, in a sense, he forced them to go and say, well, we're going to do our own thing. And their own thing got more wild as the years went along.
The pictures that people portrayed, I mean, the Brando movie and all the things that are associated with what becomes one percenters or motorcycle clubs, a lot of the stuff was generated, wasn't it? And as opposed to perhaps it's better to ask the other way, the reality versus what was generated in Hollywood and other places. Well,
the reality was rugged individualism.
Yeah.
And, it was guys that were blue collar guys. I mean, they were hardworking guys, and they wanted to have some connection. Plus, they loved motorcycles, and they didn't feel like they fit in with the AMA and with these strict rules, and so they wanted to build their own bikes, and they loved creating and innovating. I mean, it created an entire industry, the custom motorcycle industry, that's, you know, still thriving today and grows all the time. It just, you know, there's, like you said originally about if you have to ask about it, forget it.
Yep.
Well, it's sort of that deal. I mean, in a sense, bikers are the cowboys of today. They're the guys who build and want to ride the way they want to ride. They don't want anybody telling them how to do it. I mean, we have an entire family of motorcycle rights organizations all over the country and all over the world now, fighting to keep our abilities to ride free, to be able to choose whether you wear a helmet, to be able to customize your bike. It's to me it's
with a short. We're short on time. Leads us to Terry the Tramp, The Life and Dangerous Times of a One Percenter. Your book, I've obviously read it, finished it. Talk about Terry the Tramp and how and why he existed.
Well, it's just such an interesting story about Terry. You know, he grew up in a kind of a tough family atmosphere. He became a badass. He was a tough guy, and then he ended up throwing in, and a couple of times he kind of wanted to get out of the club, but he had a really strong sense of family, and it was almost as if somebody had to protect these guys. Somebody had to step up and back them up. And again, we're talking about guys that have rough lives, and they end up on the streets, but they end up around and embracing the whole motorcycles culture, and it gives them a home that they feel comfortable with. And so Terry ended up being the international president of the Vagos for 27 years.
Wow.
I have sort of a goofy analogy to that, and that is that I don't care if you're the president of the local condo association. If you're the president of something for 27 years, you're a serious leader. You can lead under any circumstance. And you can imagine, even a guy who's president of his condo association for 27 years, he's going to be thrown disasters, bad players, you name it. And Terry was like that. He was, you know, he faced everything.
When, as you know, the subtitle on the book, The Life and Dangerous Times of a One Percenter, you see the diamond. Explain that. Explain what a one percenter is to a lot of people that may not understand it. Well,
one percenters, that was originally created through, I think, some general media said that most motorcyclists are cool, but there's 1% that are badass. And several of the clubs took that on as a moniker of being the top, but sort of the baddest of the bad. I think that's changing now, just because as society changes, more and more of these clubs, you know, just to be violent all the time isn't very productive. And when these guys get to be 55, 60 years old and they're looking at their life and they're going, well, what's my future? You know, I'm just a badass. Well, you know, then things need to change. You know, you got to figure out what you're going to do going forward. Most of these clubs don't have pension plans, and you could talk to George Christie, and we probably will sometime in the future. And George was a president of his Hells Angel charter for I think about 25 years or 29 years, and then when he decided to retire, the club decided they didn't like him anymore.
Yeah. Terry the Tramp, as you say, not only survived, but he thrived. I mean, he becomes the international president of the Vagos, and the Vagos wore the diamond. And when you see that, when people see stuff like that, and wasn't the line 99% of motorcyclists are good people, something that was the AMA said, and the guy said, well, we're the, who was the first, whoever it was said, we're the 1%ers, and so it sticks. But in the end, and it's motorcycles and it's men and it's women who lived out a story that you wrote, that I think the book's great, that many of these guys, they lost their lives. They died young. I mean, there's a part of that as well in the club life. Can you address that?
Well, that's a tough one. If you're living the life of a 1%er,
Yeah.
well, you're living on the edge constantly. So that means maybe that, where did I read something just recently about, I read, the whole drug deal through the 60s and 70s and how some of these drugs really impacted these guys poorly, like Reds and Seconal. So these guys were pushing the limit every day, pushing the limit. They were either fighting, they were either riding faster than anybody would ride on a city street. They were just out there being nuts, and that was sort of the mantra. But shortly, even guys within the club learn that, if I'm going to do this every day, my odds are just going to diminish until I'm going to run into a truck or I'm going to get in a fight in the wrong bar, whatever it is. And I'll never forget, I was a Hells Angel for a short period of time, and I met this guy out of Richmond, and he was a high school teacher, and he was a member of the Hells Angels in Richmond. And I'll never forget running into him 25 years later, still a Hells Angel, still a high school teacher. So he somehow figured it out.
Yeah.
He figured out how to be part of a club and survive and create a life and have a career and stay out of trouble and stay a 1%er.
There's in the end or part of the Brando film in the motion picture The Wild One that is allegedly a knockoff of what happened in Hollister, and that great moment when she asked, and I'm paraphrasing, what are you rebelling against? Remember that line, Keith? And
right.
And the Brando character Johnny says, "What do you got?" And
right.
I remember seeing that film, man. I remember people that came to school the next day in those jackets, or at least knockoffs of those jackets, and it was the guys that, like you point out, I have to explain it, but they were rebelling against the community. The Eisenhower 50s are really an interesting time, but that's where these guys emerge. They come out in that moment, and it's their world, and I am always fascinated by that. That they were talk about Hollister and what the media did to Hollister.
Well, the media used Hollister to exacerbate the role of motorcycles in the community. And they actually made a guy pose on a motorcycle as if he was a drunk. And he was actually just a local citizen, kind of a farmer-looking guy. And they put him on a motorcycle and surrounded it by beer bottles. And that was how they portrayed the Hollister motorcyclists. I'll never forget, I rode to the 50th anniversary of that 1948 event, and I stopped in a little town. We got off the freeway and we thought, well, let's ride down small roads, little two-laners, and try to get to Hollister. And we sat in a restaurant and had breakfast, and this cowboy was sitting in a booth next to me, and we started talking to him, and he gave us directions, but he also told us that when he was a kid, his folks took him to Hollister. This is another kid that was like in the back of your car with his nose up against the window. And he said they went into Hollister during the rally, and it was wild. He said that there were women running around topless, that, you know, the place was just crazy. And I think there were some racing events in Hollister, but then the bikers came and turned it into a party. It's it's fascinating how they did that and how they turned it, but in a sense, it sort of gave validity to what we were doing. You know, that, and it gave other guys all over the country the opportunity to say, "Wow, I kind of like that. I want to go check that out."
Yes.
You know, I want to, you know, because at the end of the day, it really is a blue collar deal. It's actually for the guy who doesn't feel like he fits in. Maybe he's not a major athlete. You know, maybe he knows his job is going to be a mechanic or something, but he wants something special. I mean, you know, he wants to be able to have an adventure, and motorcycling does that. It gives these guys this opportunity to pick a motorcycle, to buy. In those days, guys would buy motorcycles for next to nothing. They were cheap.
Oh, yeah.
But then they had to on their own learn how to fix these motorcycles. And actually, one of the first major things that Easy Riders did was we took an old panhead manual and reprinted it. We sold zillions of those because guys didn't have access to it. You know, so a big part of that, and big part of being a biker, is learning how to tune your motorcycle, how to build a motorcycle, how to weld, how to become a machinist. You know, and some guys take it to the extreme. They build businesses around it.
Oh, yeah.
And some guys just still build their bikes in their garage. They love to do it. I know guys up here are members of the AMCA, the Antique Motorcycle Club of America. Man, these guys are talented. I mean, they run all over the country. Charlie, who's featured in this first issue that I was involved in, he runs all over the country picking up parts and building motorcycles, and he just loves it. I mean, and the guy's just immensely talented.
I'm getting the line from across through the glass from Adam, because we're coming up on time. We got less than 2 minutes. What would you like to say? I mean, I this guy is so important to me, you guys. This Keith Ball. What would you like to say about anything in general? It's your choice.
Well, I'll tell you what. I reached out to my staff recently, and I just said, what do you think we can do in this new year to improve motorcycling, improve the industry? What can we do? And I have this guy who works for me, and I'll call him Agent Zebra. He's a brilliant writer, a great guy, and he wrote me a little manifesto back. But one of the things he mentioned in that manifesto was exactly what you started this whole interview about, the kid with his nose against the window. And what he suggested is that as bikers, we need to introduce motorcycles to kids. And there's Ryan McFarland in Sturgis who does Strider Bikes, and he's created this whole system of introducing bikes, even push bikes. They don't even have pedals, to schools all over the country. And I think Ryan should take a motorcycle every time he goes to a school and just park it, park it next to it and let kids see it, because I think we're going to face some serious, I won't call them obstacles, but serious challenges going forward. The whole motorcycle industry, as our society changes, and we need to introduce motorcycles to kids all over the world.
We're getting a ton of messages. Your appearance. This one, a quick one. My husband built a '48 Indian Chief from the frame up, that kind of thing. And his father, he said, this is a guy whose father worked for Pappy Hoyle, after the war. There's such a culture, and you and I are I'm going to begin as his Ed McMahon and Keith's Ed McMahon. We're going to start a podcast, an Easy Rider podcast, and I'm so excited to do it. I'm saying it for the first time on the air, but to work with this man and to listen to his knowledge, and it's going to be a real venture. I'm going back up to Sturgis on January 10th and hang out with him for a couple of days. Keith, thanks. I mean, it was really, we didn't get enough time as we always do, but I'll call you when this show's over. But thanks. Thank you very much for everything. And
thank you for having me, Peter.
Be safe. I'll call you when the show's over. Thank you, sir.
You got it.
All right, everybody, we're going to do a quick turnaround, and we come back. Lines are jammed up, 710 KNUS. All's well in the world. Thank you for this week, and I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9, and then the guys are back. 710 KNUS. Let's take Bill and Aurora. We got 2 minutes, Bubba. It's all yours.
So I grew up here in Denver. So at 13 years and 9 months, I owned my first motorized two-wheeler, because in this state you could get a learner's permit at that time. Crazy thing was you didn't have to wear glasses, shoes, or a helmet. I can't believe that I and my associates mostly survived that stuff, and I ended up having 4 different bikes during my year. Did a lot of riding. It was fantastic. But I want to talk about the fact, and I'm sure you have too, read Hunter Thompson's Hell's Angels.
Yep. What about it?
And well, the one thing about it is the final line, which I think he borrowed from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which was exterminate the brutes.
Yeah.
That was a scary book, man. I mean, Hunter barely survived that ordeal,
I'll tell you a real quick story. The anniversary edition of that book came out, and Sonny had done the radio show with me, and I made and I made a CD of the show that he did with me, and I took the anniversary book. We went to the swap meet. My daughter and I went, and we gave him the book and the CD. and seriously, I mean, I was around him 2 times, and you can do what you want to do, but they changed everything. I mean, everything comes off the street. It's hip hop or clothing or styles or whatever it is. That's one of the things we're going to capture, hopefully, is that whole lifestyle and how it generated and changed the culture of a country. And it was, it came out of this volcano of people in California. I'll tell you what, you call tomorrow, man. We'll kick this one around, but you're right. I mean, you're drawing.
And I think the future is bright for two-wheelers, because look at how many two-wheelers are on the road now, these electric scooters and stuff like that.
You're right. I got 10 seconds. Okay. I got to pull it. I'll see everybody tomorrow at 9. Thanks, Adam. Take care.